Hello and welcome everyone. A new episode of Money Means Business. Tonight's episode is going to be totally dedicated to our sources of energy, and particularly we are going to give the lion's share to oil and gas explorations and efforts exerted by the state to boost this sector, not only to meet the national market's need, but to make sure that our cooperation with our allies all over the world is going to be a win-win situation. From Egypt to Cyprus, from Cyprus to Greece, from Egypt to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia, when it comes to our cooperation with our allies to secure energy resources for all those peoples together, meaning that we are achieving our goal of achieving sustainable development. Energy is part and parcel of our sustainable development, and Egypt on the right track to reach this more and more a day after the other, and this is including into Egypt 2030 New Republic, our 2030 agenda. Well, right after the short break, we are going to turn back with my dear guest live here in the studio to speak in more details about all these issues and to answer all our questions regarding what's going on the ground. Stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Engineer Karim Badawi. The meeting discussed new discoveries, particularly the Fayoum 5 oil and gas field in the King Mariut area, with the aim of boosting Egypt's oil and gas reserves. In a related context, drilling began on February 14, 2025 at the Fayoum 5 well, resulting in the discovery of 4 gas reservoirs at a depth of approximately 2,860 meters. Preliminary drilling results showed good oil and gas reserves, which bodes well for the recovery of Egypt's energy sector. This discovery represents a qualitative addition to Egypt's natural gas sector and enhances Egypt's ability to meet its natural gas needs. The new wells are planned to be connected to the King area to boost production, which will contribute to saving approximately $1 billion annually on the import bill. These discoveries coincide with the government's efforts to repay foreign oil companies, boosting foreign investor confidence in the Egyptian market. The official spokesperson for the presidency stated that Engineer Karim Badawi, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, reviewed several new agreements recently concluded during the meeting, which have contributed to increased exploration and research efforts. In a related context, during the 2023-2024 fiscal year, the Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation, EGPC, signed 6 oil and gas exploration and research agreements with international companies in several areas in the Mediterranean, the Gulf of Suez, the Nile Delta, the Western Desert and Sinai. 14 field development contracts were also signed with local and international companies operating in Egypt. The 2023-2024 fiscal year witnessed 67 new petroleum discoveries across the Arab Republic of Egypt, including 53 crude oil discoveries and 14 natural gas discoveries. According to a petroleum sector report, the largest number of crude oil and gas discoveries were made in the Western Desert with 54 discoveries. The official spokesperson for the presidency added that during the meeting, aspects of cooperation with the Cypriot side in the field of gas were also reviewed, as well as enhancing the utilization of gas reserves discovered in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone, particularly in the Kronos and Aphrodite fields. This will enable the transfer of gas discovered in Cypriot waters to Egypt, given its diverse capabilities, whether for the purpose of exploiting the gas in the Egyptian domestic market or for liquefaction in Egyptian gas liquefaction facilities and then exporting it to global markets. It's worth noting that Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis visited Cairo last February and participated in the 8th Egypt International Energy Conference and Exhibition, EGPS 2025. He witnessed the signing of 2 gas agreements to develop Cypriot discoveries using Egyptian infrastructure. Egypt seeks to become a regional hub for natural gas trade and circulation by receiving gas produced from discoveries in the Eastern Mediterranean, directing it to the local market and re-exporting it to Europe. The official spokesperson for the presidency indicated that the president has directed the continued commitment to paying dues to oil and gas companies operating in Egypt and fulfilling their obligations, which will lead to increased domestic oil and gas production and provide incentives to accelerate and intensify field development and production operations and conduct new exploration. In a related context, the Egyptian government paid $1.3 billion in new payments to foreign oil and gas companies at the end of last year, bringing the total amount owed to the Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation EGPC to approximately $4.5 billion.
Welcome back. Let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Professor Dr. Salah Arafa, Professor of Science. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Pleasure, Ifan. Thank you.
And sir, let's start immediately with this meeting which took place as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi convened with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Oil and Mineral Resources Dr. Karim Badawi, and they discussed a number of issues related to our energy sector and in specific oil and gas exploration. And of the most important topics which were discussed, they reviewed the newly signed deals with the other countries in this field. How do you see, sir, in the first place, always having this kind of cooperation and coordination with other countries, especially our allies in the field of energy and especially in the field of oil and gas exploration?
Just to start by saying this cooperation is important for our life, for our future, for our independence, and also for sustainable development.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to have, for the resources of energy, to improve our reserves,
Mm-hmm.
because this is our future. It's exactly like what I'm planning to save something for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So for the reserves, we need this cooperation with other companies, with other countries, to really make sure that we have enough sources for the future. And of course, when we talk about the future, we are really talking also about the reserve that will take us to the appropriate future.
Mm-hmm.
And the appropriate future would be for using renewable energy.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the sun, but we don't have the technology.
This was my coming question regarding this cooperation or these deals. Technology transfer, because technology transfer should be, a first priority, because as you've kindly mentioned, without technology, nothing can be achieved on the ground. To what extent do you think that it's important to have this kind of coordination between the executives on the wells and with the exploration drills and the scientific research centers between Egypt and universities, of course, between Egypt and other countries?
Both has to be on the list and on the discussion. I cannot really talk about the reserves underground and forget the future renewable energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to improve that, what you said, the technical transformation or cooperation with other universities, with other institutes, it needs this, as I always say, to really improve our ideas for the magic triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And the magic triangle tell us that the government should also cooperate with the individual companies and the civil society.
Yeah.
With this cooperation together, working together, is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you the most important thing that we also need to do in awareness and education and so on is to really make a conservation of our consumption for the energy.
Yeah, and because of this also, the president was keen to review with Karim Badawi, the Minister of Oil, all the preparations of the government, and particularly, of course, the Ministry of Oil for the coming season, summer season, to make sure that all the local market needs are going to be fulfilled, and we are not going to suffer any kind of shortages. If you want to elaborate on that too.
Yeah, but before this elaboration, I would like to congratulate you and all the viewers about today is our Earth Day.
Yeah.
And this means that we need all of us, and I would appreciate that every one of us would just do whatever he is responsible for as a person, not as a government or minister or whatever. It is to save the energy.
Yeah.
In our home, in our offices, we have light unused, or in places that not used. So I think this 1 hour of cutting the electricity in our office or in our home, just to make that an effort and a responsibility for the population to really contribute to this saving for the future.
Already, sir,
So,
Egypt participated with this for 1 hour. All unnecessary lights were turned off from 8:30 to 9:30. It's the Earth Hour.
no, I would really say and appreciate to tell you that the Earth Hour is for tonight, today.
Hmm?
We shouldn't really have a certain hour, because if I'm busy this hour, I would save it for the other hour.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what I did in my place. I took all the family out and we cut all the electricity and all the operation of the television and so on for a couple of hours.
Okay, but you are a professor of science, so you know that. So it's our role to spread awareness regarding this and to make
Exactly,
sure
sir.
that everyone can have a share, can have a hand in that. Yeah.
Everyone I have a contact with as supervisor or as a family or as what, I told them, please think of 1 hour today to shut down the electricity in your home.
Mm-hmm. And also, returning back to the meeting of the president, he was also keen to know about our strategic reserve from the petroleum amounts or petroleum materials for the coming period of time, to make sure that all the needs, all the market needs, whether industrial sector, whether it's the consumption of the citizens, are always met. Sir, you mentioned a very important issue regarding attracting individuals to invest also in this regard. How do you see the share of the private sector or the efforts exerted by the state to attract more investors, private sector investors, to invest in the field of energy in general?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for reminding me that everyone from any sector should feel the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And the responsibility for him is to share in the effort that the government is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have nothing to do with private sector. Fine. But why don't we have shareholding companies where I would have 100 Egyptian pound as a share,
Mm-hmm.
and contribute as a share? And if we are 100 million, then we can tomorrow contribute to the country with 100 million Egyptian pounds
Mm-hmm.
as shareholding for the future of our country and ourselves and so on.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really saying that there are issues that needs, as you said kindly, the awareness. Who is going to do the awareness? Me? Yes. Other teachers? Yes. Educators? Yes.
Media?
And even the sheikh in
Yeah. All the mentors, whether it can be a coach in a club, it can be a man of religion in a church or in a mosque. Exactly, sir.
One sentence should be given by me as a responsibility to make the awareness. Please at least contribute to saving, conserving, and production.
Sir, I think, in my humble opinion, whenever we are here in media talking about our latest achievements, about developing our infrastructure, about the deals which were signed with our allies, these are achievements. When we talk about them, our people are going to be eager to maintain the achievements and to have a share in such an achievement, to have a share in our restructuring of our energy segment and the restructuring of our industrial segment regarding the use of energy. I think so.
Yeah.
If you agree with me on that.
I agree completely. We really need to support the effort of the people who are really making this leading, and incentives for people to contribute and to cooperate and to help the government to do the strategy that we all know. This, if it is done well, I think we have a good future.
Returning back to Cyprus as only one example of the example of Egypt, other countries' cooperation in this field, the meeting which we were talking about discussed cooperation with Cyprus in the gas sector and ways to leverage the discovered gas reserves within Cyprus' exclusive economic zone, particularly the Coronis and Aphrodite fields. The cooperation would allow for the transportation of gas discovered in Cyprus waters to Egypt. How do you see this, sir, as one of the examples, as I said?
Well, this is really the right cooperation between countries where you have good reserve, then you can really sort of get their help and cooperation. Or you provide, even if you have an access and it is wasted, that you can contribute to other countries like Libya, Sudan, and other countries in the area. Because this cooperation is very, very important, and as you said before, the technical cooperation is also very important. And I think we should not ignore the effort that was done in places like Japan, China, and so on. Do you know what they did in the beginning? That anyone who is educated technically and scientifically, who can go to other countries, advanced countries, and attend a conference, they can give him a little money to come back and tell the others what he has seen as something new. And this is really the transformation of information and appropriate technology from where it exists to where it is needed.
We also learned lessons from some problems which took place earlier, as President Sisi emphasized the necessity of continuing to commit to settling outstanding payments to oil and gas companies operating in Egypt and fulfilling financial obligations towards them, because this is business.
Sure. I think you need to make it easy for them to cooperate with us, and second, to make it easy for them to contribute to the economy of...
And they are given incentives, sir. The President even is keen to meet himself with the CEOs of such companies to make sure that there is no obstacle on the ground anymore and they can continue with working to achieve more success on the ground. Sir, also, I cannot separate politics from economy. And when it comes to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, it ends with, or it's still continuing, I hope it's going to end soon. It ends with severe shortages of energy for Europe. So what we do have now, do you think that Egypt is capable of turning or transforming to be an energy hub to supply Europe with energy and to, I'm not going to say to make use of the conflict, but to fill this gap?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes. I'm working in the field, and I can tell you, if we can support the small individuals and small companies, local and international, to really make use of our 70% of our land as desert, and to absorb this fantastic source of energy that's distributed from the sun and from the other activities like wind and biogas and
you name it, natural gas. And I mean, sir, Egypt is really, as you've kindly mentioned, is lucky and blessed from God Almighty with many resources. When it comes to gas, oil, we just needed the exploration and technology transfer. And when it comes to wind and solar, we need the technology, and it's going to be tangible results on the ground. How do you see the state's commitment to work in both directions in the same time? I mean, we are very much committed to the outcomes of our climate change conference and to decrease the carbon emission, and in the same time to continue with the fossil fuel exploration without exceeding the limits, if I may put it this way. How do you see benefiting from all our resources and working or stepping forward in the two fields or the two sectors in the same time?
We have to think of the three areas seriously, because they are going to do what you have been saying, not the government or our president alone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we are really going to do something in these areas that you kindly mentioned, that this would be our road for the future and the economic better future
process,
and so on.
Yeah.
Awareness, education, and technical training. The three, we should really think about it. Okay, awareness, education, and training. Who are going to do the three or one of the three? I tell you, well, education, at least we should tell the teachers in the primary school and in the secondary school and in the university about renewable energy.
Yeah.
Because many of them, they don't know.
They already study in their curricula right now what's green hydrogen. Because in many occasions, whether the president, the ministers, the prime minister are talking about green hydrogen, for example, as the future and as the fuel of tomorrow.
Sure. But what I'm really saying is the one in your street. He doesn't know even what is renewable energy. He doesn't know what is solar energy. He haven't seen it.
Our people in Aswan, in Pimpan, they are there watching this great, huge station, Pimpan station, and it's one, I think, of the biggest worldwide, or at least in Africa or the Middle East when it comes to solar energy.
One of the large ones.
Yeah. And with the strategic partnership between Egypt and the European Union, there are a lot of events which took place symbolizing this kind of cooperation in the field of energy.
Sure. What I would say to everyone who is interested in our future to be good and to help the country and the government in the strategies that they are planning, as well as the 2030, our vision, is the following. we need to transfer this knowledge and technical information to those who need it.
And to continue with cooperating, especially with our African allies, because, for example, today, because I'm really keen all the time to give my viewers the latest. Today, Egypt ambassador in Abuja, Mohammed Fuad, discussed in a meeting with Nigerian energy minister ways of fostering the existing cooperation between the two countries in the fields of energy and electricity, as well as activating a memorandum of understanding signed in January 2023. And only a couple of days ago or something, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdulati already delivered a written message from President Sisi to the Tanzanian president regarding ways of boosting bilateral ties. On top of the list, it's also the energy sector, Nile Basin countries, and what we can do.
We can do a lot, but we have a missing thing, and I would relate it to what we said before about this triangle. Do you know, when I, by the way, I have been visiting up till now at least 12 African countries.
Okay.
12.
How many of them are Nile Basin countries?
At least 8.
Oh, this is great, sir.
At least 8. Including Addis Ababa and so on. Anyway, what I'm saying, what is missing is that we need to support that those who are going, they are not the ministers only or the big bosses. We need to send civil society members to the civil society members there, and they can talk together. Do you know, in these 12 countries I visited, when I go to the hotel, the first thing before getting into my room, I told them, could you please give me the name of the best active NGOs
here
in the area.
Yeah.
And I talk to them, invite them for a cup of tea, and they are telling me that this is, sir, what we need for a better cooperation. Why? Because you talk with the people who can work together tomorrow, not an official who would need a meeting and with the boss.
Sir, of course, I cannot deny the big role which can be played by NGOs and civil societies, and also the private sector, and also the public sectors. Simply, as I mentioned, the visit of His Excellency Dr. Badr Abdulati to Tanzania, he visited the site of Julius Nyereri's dam, which was implemented, and it's in the very last stages, and it's about to finish, and it's implemented by Egyptian private sector companies, in addition, of course, to being covered or built by the engineering authority of our armed forces. So it's only one example.
And we are able, we need just the cooperation and the support between the three I mentioned to really come to a better solution.
Yeah, amen to that, sir. And also, taking you to another side of the coin, which is the development of our infrastructure and the technology transfer, which we are keen to do. How do you see, and having also our very qualified cadres who can run these projects, how do you see all this as kind of attraction to foreign investors, to European investors to come and to invest here in this field, making sure that they are going to find all facilities, whether developed infrastructure, whether qualified cadres, whether incentives regarding the taxes and the land, etc., etc.
Okay, when I sit with private sectors coming from outside or inside, they have really two problems, two main problems. What? The first is that the easy working systems with offices. not with the strategy of the government or the country. The second is the importance of information. The need to get information about what is going on and how we can really get in to the appropriate locations, appropriate people, it takes a sort of systematic time that is no longer for a private sector, someone coming for 2 days and he wants to do a job. The facilitation is really very important, and this needs also awareness and training.
Simply, if they just click some buttons and went and entered the websites of the government, the cabinet, they are going to find all answers. And this is, I think, translated into this: Egypt takes center stage at Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue. And this took place only 2 days ago, meaning that it was an opportunity where businessmen in this field already gathered, and they exchanged knowledge, and they knew all what they want. The environment here, sir, is really ready to attract more. But maybe it's our way, it's not that much beneficial when it comes to our propaganda. We should do more propaganda or more marketing regarding our environment of investment, or
more cooperation.
Okay.
That let me just tell you something.
Sure.
Dr. Salah Arafa will go tomorrow to Berlin to talk about energy and to know what are they doing about energy. Okay? Very good. Maybe he has learned something, and it is very important for us to know or to do. Okay. What will be the best way? Well, some officers will say, okay, come, we invite you, the people who are concerned from different, not from different companies, but from different governorates, because there are governments they don't even know. Okay, I'll tell you something also for the viewer.
Yeah.
If I would have the best training program that I can do for 1 day or 2 days about renewable energy in terms of new technologies and so on. Okay. How could we do it? Who would give us the place? How much will it cost? Who would contribute? The person who would come from Giza, who would maybe have 20 pounds or 25 pounds only for transportation. But what about coming from Sharqiya or from Minya or from Sohag? If we don't look for that contribution, forget it. I would say that if we can have one person free to come and be trained, but has the responsibility when he goes back to train others by connections, then we do a job, a good job. So I think what I meant, we have all the resources. It's just we need to cooperate and to be responsible for this cooperation. And as I said, that it is really very good for doing a lot of vision, strategy, and
this is what our top executives are trying to do, particularly when it comes to international gatherings at the Berlin Transition Dialogue, for example. By the way, it took place only on the 18th and 19th of March. And while explaining Egypt's energy sector strategy, our minister emphasized the importance of diversifying energy sources and ensuring sustainability, energy security, and economic growth, highlighting the importance of natural gas as the most suitable transitional fuel with the lowest emissions. Going
Excellent.
there with an agenda, going there with studies, going there knowing well what he is going to do, and particularly with the biggest economy in Europe, with Germany.
I would really say that I support the strategy, I support the vision, I support the efforts of the government. But what we need is the cooperation to transfer this one to awareness, information, and training of every individual responsible in the country.
Yeah.
This is missing.
Going from top to the
This
to
is-
the middle, to the simplest, the layman in the street, even if we can say it. Yeah.
Just to tell you, this was my effort.
What also I think is very important, sir, is to let our people know that energy, it's not an Egyptian problem. It's a worldwide crisis.
Sure.
The whole world is really suffering from this issue, and as I mentioned in the middle of our episode, that the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, among the negative consequences is the energy shortage in Europe. And they were really suffering during the last 3 winters when the temperatures are below zero, and there are people who were really suffering because the central heat was not exceeding 18. Only 18, and that's it. For us, it's cold. For them, it's really great.
Yeah.
Moving to another point, sir, regarding our natural resources. How, until the moment, how do you see our way of benefiting from them? I mean, the efforts exerted satisfying, or it's only few steps in a long journey? I mean, when people listen about Pimpan, when people listen about the usage of wind energy for example, desalination of seawater, and to use this water in particular crops cultivation, all these efforts satisfying, or they are only few steps in the long road?
Well, as I would say always, there is a good strategy and understanding from the government.
Mm-hmm.
But the link to the other 2 components, which will take this strategy into action, is not existing right.
At least, I'm not going to say not existing right. It needs more and more effort in this regard. This
Well,
connection should be more than that.
This
Is that what you're saying?
This is a very diplomatic saying of it. I'm not a diplomat, but I'm scientist, and I'm saying to you, how did I, as a professor of the American University and doing well and so on, take the chance of transferring this technology to be used in a small village where there is no even a small school?
You mean in Egypt?
50 years ago, before
50 years ago.
you were
But
born.
now there's no village without schools. Not only one school.
Without
Schools.
schools.
Yeah. I mean, now in Egypt you cannot find a rural area without a school.
I can give you 5, 10 tomorrow. What I'm
Going
saying,
there?
Do you know? This was the information that I got like you. What? There is a third difference between what you call a village and a satellite. تابع.
Okay.
بيسموهم توابع.
Yeah, they call them
قرى تابعة.
sub-villages. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where there are still many who have no electricity, no water, no school.
With our presidential initiative, Haya Karima, I don't think, sir, with all my respect, that what you're taking is implemented on the ground. But unfortunately, we're running out of time. I would thank you very much for your input.
Pleasure.
Well, we were very much delighted to have with us Dr. Salah Arafa, Professor of Science. And now I'm going to leave you with the most important events which took place in the past 7 days. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. This was Nurmeen Abdurrahman.
Engineer Karim Badawi, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, met with a delegation from Anglo Gold Ashanti International and Barrick Gold. During the meeting, Engineer Karim Badawi reviewed investments in the Egyptian mining sector through creating an attractive environment for investors. He noted that the mining sector is one of Egypt's strategic sectors and receives significant government attention to facilitate operations and licensing and increase value and returns to attract investors to the mining sector. Prime Minister indicated at the Asian press conference that the number of factories in the economic zone is 65 and their number has now reached 130, doubling the number in a 3-year period. More importantly, there are 120 factories under construction that will be completed this year or next year at the latest. He added that during his visit to the Suez Canal Economic Zone, he inspected 2 factories specializing in the production of solar panels. He noted that the head of the authority confirmed that by the end of this year, 2025, Egypt will have the capacity to fully produce all solar panel components, which is in line with Egypt's 2030 plan and vision, whereby clean energy will account for 42% of Egypt's total energy production. Hassan Mabrouk, head of the Home Appliances and Electrical Appliances Division of the Federation of Egyptian Industries, said that Egypt will witness new foreign investments worth between $750 million and $1 billion in the home appliances sector during 2025. He added that the expected investments will be implemented by 4 major companies targeting the start of manufacturing in Egypt, in addition to some Chinese companies currently considering expanding into Egypt for export purposes, coinciding with the escalating trade war between the US and China and the increase in customs restrictions. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli witnessed the signing ceremony of the agreement for the 500 MW wind farm in the Gulf of Suez region in the presence of Dr. Mahmoud Ismat, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy. Under the agreement, Siemens Gamesa will build, finance and operate the project, which will contribute to increasing the share of renewable energy in the electricity mix and achieving the state's renewable energy goals of increasing renewable energy to 42% of the energy mix by 2030 and 65% by 2040. Agricultural exports continue to penetrate new international markets in continuation of the Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation's policy of working to establish a presence in various international markets. Exports reached an unprecedented record in 2024, exceeding 8.6 million tons of agricultural products, an increase of more than 1,172,705 tons compared to 2023. Dr. Mohammed Al-Mansi, head of the Agricultural Quarantine Authority, held a meeting with the Mexican Ministry of Agriculture, attended by Ambassador Amr Abdel Warith and the Mexican ambassador to Cairo. The 2 sides discussed opening the Mexican market to Egyptian agricultural exports of several products, most notably citrus fruits, onions, garlic, hibiscus, and strawberry seedlings. A consortium of Austrian companies is planning to develop 4 waste-to-energy plants in Egypt, with investments ranging between 150 and 250 million euros each. The consortium is initially considering establishing the plants in Cairo, Giza, Gharbiya, and Daqahliya, with the possibility of later expansion after feasibility studies are conducted for the projects. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the annual Iftar banquet hosted by the armed forces. In his speech, President al-Sisi spoke about the regional and international challenges facing the region and the world, which have negatively impacted the Egyptian economy. He emphasized that the Egyptian economy is witnessing positive indicators pointing to the recent approval by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, to disburse a new tranche to Egypt, reflecting international confidence in the global economy. Lieutenant General Kamil al-Wazir, Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development and Minister of Industry and Transport, visited the site of Alstom's massive industrial complex in Burj Al Arab, Alexandria. The minister witnessed the arrival of equipment to prepare the site for the start of construction of the giant industrial complex. The minister was received by Alstom's leadership. The minister confirmed that the complex will include 2 factories, one for the production of electrical systems and railway components, and the other for the production of all types of moving units, metro, LRT tram, monorail, and high-speed trains.